Alright, welcome to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about Goose Hollow, Jefferson Street, and Columbia Street. Today's buses are kind of confusing because several of them use Jefferson and Columbia Streets. If you're coming in from Nadeau Parkway side, most buses end at 10th Avenue, one of them ends at 16th Avenue, and Goose Hollow sits there at 18th Avenue. And that does not make sense to me. I don't know why most of them just end at 10th when Goose Hollow is just another 8 blocks away. That would be quite convenient to serve. Right now, quite a few bus lines run on this couplet of streets. They are, say it with me now, oh wait, I forget, not everybody's psycho like I am and remembers where all the buses go. The 6 Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard, which ends at the Goose Hollow MAX Station and uses the roundabout to turn around. Now, the 24 also uses the roundabout to turn around, but I'm not really going to count it here because it pretty much just uses this area to turn around. It doesn't really serve the length of Jefferson or Columbia Streets. 38 Boone's Ferry Road. This one ends at Jefferson and 10th, and this runs during weekday rush hour only. The 45, which is the one that ends at Jefferson and 16th, which is 2 blocks away from Goose Hollow, and it only does so on weekdays, even though the 45 runs every day. It only continues to Portland on weekdays. The 45 is kind of weird. The 55, Hamilton, which runs a couple trips per day. The 58, which runs through this corridor from the Sunset Highway and ends in downtown Portland. The 68, Markham Hill Collins Circle, this one also uses Goose Hollow to turn around, but it is weekday rush hour only. The 92, which was recently canceled, South Beaverton Express, also ran on this couplet to 10th and Jefferson only. Peak direction weekdays only. And finally the 96, Tualatin I-5, which also ends at 10th and Jefferson and runs on weekdays. That means weekends there's not a whole lot. I have videos of several bus lines going through this area, including the 45, 58, 92, and 96, but I'd like to film all of these that come out of Portland, that begin here and travel south. So how many buses run on this couplet? 7, or 8 if you count the recently canceled 92. So let's simplify this. Let's give 2 different categories of buses. Ones that will use Goose Hollow to turn around, and ones that will use a new layover, long layover thing to turn around. So buses that use Collins Circle wouldn't really get a very long break to turn around in because it's not very roomy in there and you might want to cycle buses in and out fairly quickly. But buses would still use it as it is a great point to turn buses around. Let's, for the purpose of this video, let's say that those buses are the A buses. All the ones that use Goose Hollow, except for the 24 because the 24 is different. So this would be lines 6, 58, and 68. You could board these at the layover, or at Collins Circle more broadly. And within walking distance from here would be a 3-block long layover. There would be no on-street parking for this general area, and I think it already kind of is used like this, but the rest of the buses that today end at either Columbia and 10th or Columbia and 16th would now use this new layover here at, we'll call it the Columbia Street layover. And it stretches from Columbia and 14th all the way to Columbia and 17th. So it would house lines 38, 45, 55, and 96, the rest of the bus lines through here. And we'll call these buses the B buses. So buses out of Collins Circle, the A buses, would serve stops on Columbia at 13th, Park, and Columbia between 6th and 5th. Then on Jefferson Street in the other direction, it would serve stops at Jefferson between 4th and 5th, 10th, 13th, 16th, and the Goose Hollow MAX Station. Buses that use the Columbia Street layover, so the B buses, would serve stops at the layover. You could board buses from there. So Columbia between 14th and 17th, the Columbia Street layover. 12th, Park, 4th, and 1st, just before Nadeau Parkway. On Jefferson Street, there would be a stop at 1st, Broadway, 10th, 13th, 16th, and it would loop using Goose Hollow but not serving any stops in it, and it would lay over using the layover at Columbia between 14th and 17th. Several stops would be shared by both A and B buses, and those would be these stops on the screen now. Okay, now let's talk about some reroutes and things related to Forward Together. I think line 16 could easily be extended to use this. Right now it does this big loop where it partially uses the transit mall, it partially uses a large set of streets, and I always find large loops to turn around to be sort of inconvenient. So if instead the bus just continued running down NATO Parkway until Jefferson and Columbia Streets and used it to turn around, then that might make things more streamlined. So that way, after you come out of that layover and you get to the end, the line 16 will take a left onto NATO Parkway, and things such as the 38 or 45 would take a right onto NATO. The 68 doesn't really need to exist anymore, so you could get rid of that. You can just as easily use line 8 to come out of OHSU and either transfer to other buses on Columbia and Jefferson, or just take the line 8 to Pioneer Square and take any MAX line wherever you need to go. If it's ever decided to revive the old Line 91, TV Highway Express, then I would absolutely have it use this corridor because, well, it's perfect. I mean, yes, it would be very, very, very similar to the Line 58, and it would more or less be combining lines 58 and 57. However, it would not serve Beaverton Transit Center and would provide much-needed express service on TV Highway. This is an alternative that I'm a little more skeptical about now than I was before, just because it might be a little easier to add a 57E on TV Highway if you wanted the express service for now, and you wouldn't have the headache of dealing with the Sunset Highway and the insane amounts of congestion when entering Portland. So with everything considered, including some of my ideas like reviving the 91 or moving the 16, that would mean that the A stops, or the A buses that use Collins Circle, would be lines 6, 58, and 91. And buses serving the Columbia Street layover, the B buses, would be lines 16, 38, 45, 55, and 96. It'd almost be like a little mini transit mall. Sorta. No real dedicated lanes. There would be dedicated lanes, but it's not really a transit mall. Well, anyways, I thank you for watching, and as usual, this is sort of food for thought, so I'll see you on the next one.